Hello, is that PC Hutchinson?
Just bear with it. Hi, this is PC Ollie Hutchinson speaking.
Hi, my name. I've been told to give you a call, my solicitor.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me a call. Did your solicitor mention what the phone call would be about?
Something to do with you was warning me about potential harassment, but I'm not sure. I'd like to know what it is.
Yeah. So ultimately, it's what we call words of advice. So it's not it, it's not like we'd be pursuing like a criminal investigation against you or things like that. So what's happened is there's been a complaint from a person called in the Colne area, just in relation to frequent contact that you've made to like the council over here, that type of thing. I believe she's retired now, so she's finding it a bit stressful. So she raised a complaint, and I spoke to her about it. But ultimately, what she said to me was she didn't want to pursue anything like a criminal complaint or anything like that. She just wanted me to speak to you and ask you to please, stop like making
Oliver,
contact with her, that type of thing.
can I just stop you there, Oliver? Because giving me words of advice on uncovering something that's within the public interest, it's rather upsetting. Now, I'm just going to actually give you a bit of background because it seems like you're being swindled by someone who's had quite a lot of affluent positions. So let me just give you my feedback from it, Oliver. So in
Okay.
2019, I found out that as the chair of Colne Town Council was procuring services from a company called Aquarius Acoustics for the Colne Rhythm and Blues Festival where children were in attendance. Now, kids who go to the Rhythm and Blues and go to Colne Gala, they were actually having their staging and their audio equipment, and the Town Council was procuring this from Aquarius Acoustics, which is owned by David Pickering. Now, what I found out was David Pickering was subject to an SOPO, and he shouldn't be anywhere near kids.
Okay.
So in 2019, I submitted a Freedom of Information request to Town Council asking them of all their contracts with Aquarius Acoustics, not mentioning. And I've never once in any of these Freedom of Information requests mentioned as an individual. I've always said the chair of Town Council. So what she's doing is she's using you to try and stop me from telling the public about the council using paedophiles. Now the second instance is that I found out that her son, who's also subject to an SOPO, was living with her at Keithley Road while she held these positions. She was working at the council dealing with vulnerable people. She was working at Peter Birtwistle Trust, where she still is now, dealing with vulnerable elderly people. And she was also working with refugees from Syria and Afghanistan, which on the front of it all is very good. Me and go back a way back. She actually employed me for a role at Sacred Heart. Now,
Okay. Yeah.
what I was really upset about is I'm going to tell you this, mate. In
Yeah.
2014, 11 years ago, it's well documented that I was using the law adverse possession on commercial properties in Manchester and allowing the homeless to stay in there. I got lucky, and one of the buildings was owned by Gary Neville, and he allowed us to stay in there. It was all over the news. So during this occupation, contacted me, and her husband came over to Manchester and met me for a coffee, and this stuck in my mind 11 years. She turned round to me and she goes, I love what you're doing with the homeless campaigns, but she goes, you should stay away from the paedophile stuff. And that just stuck in my head like it as an anomaly, like the black cat in the Matrix. Why would she say such a thing? Now, with her being like at the time, she was a judge, She was part of the NHS. She was part of the local church. She was part of my school governors. She was part of all these places where she was dealing with vulnerable people. And I found out that her son was subject to an SOPO, and he'd been banned from having electronic devices. And the only other two people that lived in that property was her and her husband. And they're both counsellors. And they're both involved in all these groups, so he would have had to have used one of their devices to commit the further offences. So, in all honesty, Oliver, I respect you for following up from your inquiry, because in the law, that's what you're told to do. If somebody makes a complaint, you've got to follow it up. But now that you know the background, what I've recently found out is that is on the board of governors at Peter Birtwistle Trust, and she's also now employed, so there's a third paedophile involved. She's employed a paedophile called Derek Denwood as the gardener for Peter Birtwistle Trust, and they're also awarding him, Colne Town Council are putting awards for this Derek Denwood, a registered paedophile who's abused kids, giving him awards.
I think you're spot on what you're saying in relation to,
And in all honesty, Oliver, whilst I've been sending these freedom of information requests, I've been contacting your control centre. I've been contacting your safeguarding teams. I've CC'd in Lancashire Constabulary. I've CC'd in counsellors. So all she's trying to do is trying to make me not pursue investigating further. Now, if I found 3 of them, I'm suspecting that there's more in the network.
Yeah. So if I could just say the following, and just to make my position clear. So, in relation to the steps that you're taking and the Freedom of Information Act requests and things like that, obviously that's your right, and
it's entirely legal
to stop doing that. But all I'm saying is because you've been down the correct channels to do the Freedom of Information Act request, and that's all fine. I'm not criticising that.
The thing is, Oliver, is sorry to interrupt. It's just that I need to really make myself clear on something so important. Because I've been through, you can look at the PNC and see how many times I've been in trouble as a kid. I were a right little bastard. And now I've grown up, I've got a kid, I'm not that little bastard anymore. But I also now understand the law. And I understand that I've got to be very careful in what I say, especially if I've got to say something in the public realm. So if I am not accusing of anything, I'm not accusing her of anything. I'm not saying she's a paedophile. I'm not saying her husband is. I'm not saying anyone in the Liberal Democratic Party is. The only things that I've uploaded are facts.
Yeah. So what you've just said just then is just perfectly satisfying what I wanted to hear, which was that you're clued in on the law and you're very careful with.
The other thing, Oliver, is I don't.
That's all I wanted to hear.
Yeah, I don't even use Facebook. So, for instance, if anything is uploaded to Facebook, it's not done by me anymore. I ain't used Facebook for the past 10 years. But the thing is the way that I'll be honest with you, the people that actually do upload things, I've told them, mate, you don't want to be going to prison for defamation or slander, or especially in these times, you can get done for saying the wrong thing. Look at all these women that have and the priests that have just been arrested for this Palestine thing. You can actually be arrested and put on terrorist act for saying the wrong thing these days. So it's very strict, like, and I've turned around and I said to these people there's like 7 people who are managing the page, I've said, do not put hearsay on that page. That page is strictly for convicted people only.
So, just on a separate note, obviously I was happy to speak to you to have this conversation because I took the initial complaint, and you probably know this one I'm about to say next, which is it depends on where you live, the constabulary that actually needs to get into contact with you. So, I took the complaint in Lancashire so I was happy to speak to you, but really the normal process is we find out what your current address is at the time, and then we ask that constabulary to make contact with you. So I'll just ask you the question, would you like to give me your current address?
With the current standing, because I'm not being accused of anything, and we both on the understanding that I've not committed any offences whatsoever, and there's no reason for me to give anyone in the police my contact details. I just feel uncomfortable with just due to the fact that used to be a judge. Her husband's brother is a judge. I wouldn't want anyone within the judicial system having access to my address. I'd feel a bit uncomfortable. Especially now that you know in your heart of hearts that I've not done anything wrong, and I'm just making the public aware that the council have been procuring services from a paedophile, and they really shouldn't be doing that, because after that freedom of information request, guess what? They stopped. So...
Yes, that's absolutely fine. It's just, I'm obligated.
The thing is, though, is all you need to update is... Yes, just put all you need to update the PNC would be is he lives within Lancashire, so it's fine that I'm speaking to him.
Oh, right, so you are just in Lancashire area? Oh.
Yeah, well, I'm actually homeless, so I'm just dossing here, there and everywhere.
It would have made me trying to contact you anyway.
The thing is, Oliver, is now that we've had this conversation, I won't even be mentioning or anything. What I will be doing is every action that I take now, it will be through Lancashire Constabulary. It won't be through no petty Facebook or anything. I'll be going to safeguarding meetings. I'll be speaking to your head of safeguarding.
Okay, yeah, that sounds appropriate. Definitely.
Because the thing is these little town, you'll know yourself, small town councils, they run themselves. So the thing is, for instance, I'll give you a hypothetical, because of how much investigating I've done into this. The person who deals with health and safety at Peterborough Whistle Trust, so the only person that would be undergoing any safeguarding would be him. He's also the same at Colne Town Council. So, and I've requested certain things in my freedom of information request saying, can I see your safeguarding policies? They've not provided me with them. So now I would have to get the ICO involved. So it is just a bit strange. Like, I could understand because I've actually been accused of harassment in the past, and I understand the law. Like, if somebody tells you not to contact them and you make contact further, that's harassment. So say, for instance, my ex-girlfriend turned round and said, right, I don't want you to contact me anymore, and I just started WhatsApping her 3-4 times, I could get arrested for harassment. The reason why you're not arresting me and there's no warrant out for my arrest is because I've not committed a crime. What you're actually being gamified. It's sad. Like, we're paying our taxes, both you and me, for an ex-judge who's obviously doesn't like me investigating what I'm investigating, is trying to use the police to threaten me with, like, words of advice and harassment to stop investigating. I'm going to be honest with you, mate. Until the moment I stop breathing, I'll always help survivors of child abuse, and I'll always help homeless people, because I've been there. And even if my freedom of information request can stop them from whatever they're up to, I'll continue to do it, because a council shouldn't be using a paedophile's company for public services.
Yeah, as I say, I wouldn't necessarily frame it myself the way that you just did. However, I would similarly say, and like I said before earlier in the call, complaint was made, needed to have a chat with you, and I'm quite satisfied that, you're saying that you're only going to...
legal means, legal channels.
Through the correct channels, which is like Freedom of Information Act requests and contacting...
You'll never have a report of me ever contacting this woman. I think what it is she's trying. She's saying she's retired, so there would be no problem in me presenting this information to Colne Town Council if she's no longer a councillor.
Don't quote me on that. That was me remembering the conversation from a number of weeks ago. But I got that impression that she was kind of like stepping away type thing. But it might not be like official.
I mean, when you actually look into this, if you just because is it Visor you use for the SOPO searches? Yeah, just the address that you've visited her at or spoke to her at. Just bag that postcode into Visor, so you'll see that her son is actually evil. There's not many people I'd call evil, but this is a repeat offender that's harmed like children under 10. And not just like the judge described them as the most graphic, disgusting type of. So the thing is to try and use the police as a tool to get somebody to stop publicly informing, because you know yourself, like when something's in the newspaper, it's like old fish and chip shop wrapper. It's forgotten about. But people need to be aware, and that's why we've got Sarah's Law and Claire's Law. I mean, if just behind where they live is a school. Somebody contacted us that was worried that the family was attending a lot of children's events. It's rather than keeping an eye on me, Oliver, people need to keep an eye on the actual offenders. I mean, I'm only just all I'm doing is freedom of information requests, and I know you're just going off like you've had this phone call. She's a judge. They've got affluent background. They've got connections, and you've been told to contact me. But the reality is after speaking to me, this lady is affiliated to 3 separate paedophiles, and I shouldn't be. Like I had hardly any sleep last night. I don't even really speak to my dad, mate. And you went to my father's house. Me and my dad have got grievance over the years, and his girlfriend was worried. They've not had any sleep. They've contacted my auntie. I haven't been in trouble for years, mate. The only thing I do literally wrong is well, it's not even wrong now. It's legal. I smoke a bit of weed. That's it. I've given up all my activism. I'm just trying to safeguard people.